Rang De Basanti is celebrating its 20th anniversary, and for many of us, it's not just a movie, it's a film that defined a generation. But did you know this masterpiece almost tanked in the first week of its release?
During the release of RDB Basanti, the distributors had backed off. And then the film blew up. Not just monetarily, just impact-wise it blew up.
Did you know the original ending was completely different, and that if they had kept it, the movie might not have had the impact it eventually did?
Don't kill the boys.
Don't kill the boys. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah. How can you do that? Don't kill the boys.
And here is the big one. How did Rang De Basanti, the fourth film based on Bhagat Singh since the turn of the century, became the one that we remember the most? When Rang De Basanti was released 20 years ago, no one knew it would become a cultural phenomenon. And after a nervous release week, the movie went on to become one of the biggest successes of the year.
Rang De Basanti has been declared by film trade pundits as a runaway success.
Mind-blowing. Simply amazing. 10 out of 10.
And to date, it has a refreshing feel which no other film in that genre has able to match. Songs like Rubaru, Khoon Chala and Pathshala have become synonymous with a growing generation and remain relatable amidst the current music landscape. To understand why this movie exploded the way it did, you have to transport yourself back to the India of 2006, a time when the economy had just started to boom. Call centers were the new gold rush, multinational corporations were storming the big cities, and we had started loving global brands, coffee shop culture, and Western lifestyles. The youth of that time were often labeled the sleeping generation, apolitical, self-absorbed, and obsessed with leaving India for better opportunities abroad.
अजय, तू देश को perfect बनाते रहे. मैं जिस दिन डिग्री मिली कट लूंगा अमेरिका.
All the kids just wanted to get the hell out of this country. America was the place to be. That's where life was going to happen to them.
You heard it everywhere. Politics is a dirty game and nothing will ever change in this country.
We all had this thing about how this country is not working. We all used to keep cursing the politicians and how corrupt they are and stuff like that.
This is where the genius of director Rakeysh Omprakash Mehra comes in. And for Mehra, this wasn't just a script, it was a personal betrayal. Mehra grew up in an Air Force school and originally wanted to become a fighter pilot himself. The storyline about the MiG-21 crashes wasn't just a dramatic twist, it was his direct response to the real coffin gate scandals and the faulty spare parts that were killing pilots in real life.
युवा जो हैं होश में नहीं जोश में प्लेन उड़ाता है. So that got your blood boiling and you had to do now make a movie.
But instead of starting the movie with a patriotic lecture, he started it by holding up a mirror to us. Characters like DJ, Sukhi, Karan and Aslam weren't heroes. They were drifters, they were cynical.
Not just cynical, there was nothing wrong in going to America or escaping life.
Not apprehensive for what they would eventually face, but because they were convinced that nothing good could happen in the country.
नाज है? किस चीज पर? देश की पॉपुलेशन पर? नहीं बेरोजगारी पर. करप्शन पर? किस चीज पे सबसे ज्यादा गर्व है?
Hey, come on guys. कोई भी देश perfect नहीं होता, उसे बेहतर बनाना पड़ता है.
That was the masterstroke. The movie validated the audience's cynicism before challenging it. It didn't preach to us, it agreed with us first, which is why when the characters eventually woke up, we woke up with them. And one of the ways Mehra woke the characters up was via a silent inner revolution powered by the story of the Indian revolutionary Bhagat Singh. Between 2002 and 2004, Bollywood went through a strange phase where everyone wanted to make a movie about the revolutionary Bhagat Singh. Most of these films were well made, but they felt like history textbooks. You watched them, felt sad, went home and forgot about it. By the time Rang De Basanti was announced, people were rolling their eyes. They curiously asked, why do we need another Bhagat Singh movie?
And we asked them, what do they know about Bhagat Singh or Azad or Bismillah Shafaq? We were shocked. People had heard of Gandhi, but Bhagat Singh, they had heard, but they didn't know anything about him.
There were youngsters who were coming back with, was Chandrasekhar Azad Kirti Azad's father?
The writers of Rang De Basanti, Kamlesh Pandey and Rensel De Silva, realized that if they made a straightforward biography, nobody would watch it.
What the youth was telling us is they do not see themselves in the film. They cannot identify with it. They respect them, but what's the context? So it had to be contextual.
So they flipped the script. They decided not to make a movie about Bhagat Singh. They made a movie about our discovery of Bhagat Singh. It was a story within a story. It used the device of a documentary film being made by a British woman to bridge the gap between 1931 and 2006. By casting modern, jeans-wearing, beer-drinking college kids as freedom fighters, it asked a haunting question.
If Bhagat Singh had been alive today, what would he have done?
That narrative choice is the single biggest reason the film didn't get lost in the crowd. But once the marketing was done and the lights went down, the audience realized the way the story was told was just as revolutionary as the story itself. While the concept of blending the past and present was brilliant on paper, the screenplay's execution is where the movie truly won its battle. The film employs a distinct visual language to distinguish the two timelines. If you watch it closely, the scenes from the 1920s are shot in golden filters. They look romantic, heroic, almost dreamlike. In contrast, the scenes from the present day are vibrant, chaotic, and full of sharp, realistic colors. As the movie progresses, these two visual styles start to bleed into each other. It wasn't just a cool special effect, it was visual storytelling. It represented a possession. The spirits of the revolutionaries were slowly taking over the bodies of these modern, cynical boys. However, the thing that actually saved the movie from being just another film was the ending. In the original draft, the climax was completely different. After the boys assassinate the corrupt defense minister, the plan was for them to flee. They were supposed to try to escape the city, perhaps getting shot down at different locations or getting arrested and going to trial. It was a standard Bollywood revenge drama ending. When Aamir Khan read this, he reportedly argued against it. He felt that if the characters ran away, they would just be murderers. But if they stayed, they would become revolutionaries. He reminded the team that Bhagat Singh never ran after throwing the bomb in the assembly. He stood there to be arrested so his trial could become a platform.
It came clearly from Aamir, and he said, "Yaar, हमने कुछ गलत थोड़ी किया है. We should own it." I said, "Perfect. Let's take over the radio station."
That argument changed the entire climax. The writers rewrote it so they could take over All India Radio. They didn't want to escape, they wanted to remain alive on air to tell the country why they did it. And they ended up losing their lives, similar to how revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad gave their life in the fight for independence. Think about the emotional difference that was made. The image of them laughing and cracking jokes while waiting for the commandos to break in, that is what transformed this movie into something extraordinary. It turned it all into a philosophical statement.
Sending commandos is the death of democracy. Today is a sad day in the history of Indian politics.
With such a powerful ending locked in, the team would be confident, but the reality on set was very different. Behind the scenes, the production was plagued by insecurity and what-ifs. Recently, actors from the film revealed that the producers were actually terrified of the final product. This is a disaster. Indians don't like sad endings. This was even confirmed by Mehra's latest interview with Bharadwaj Rangan.
Don't kill the boys.
Don't kill the boys. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah. How can you do that? Don't kill the boys.
I still remember in my own family, the ending sparked a huge debate. My parents, my brother and I each had a different opinion on the ending. And I remember reading the news during the first release weekend that the opinions were so divided that there were even rumors that producers were asking actors to return some of their signing fees to keep the production afloat because they were convinced it was a flop. But remember, there is a dialogue in the end which goes like this. And the rest is history. Positive word of mouth gave the movie momentum and sparked conversations which were paramount at the time in India. The casting itself was also a chaotic puzzle. Reports from that era suggest that Shah Rukh Khan was approached to play the role of the pilot Ajay Rathod, a part that eventually went to R. Madhavan. There were even discussions about Hrithik Roshan for one of the lead roles. And then there was a risk with Aamir Khan. We forget this now, but Aamir was 40 years old at the time, playing a college student who was supposed to be 25. He had to hire a personal trainer not just to lose weight, but to change his body language entirely, learning to sit, stand and move with a loose, student-like posture rather than a rigid posture of a 40-year-old man. But despite the doubts, the chemistry worked. You had veterans like Om Puri and Wahida Rahman mixing with the younger lot like Siddharth, Kunal Kapoor, Sharman Joshi and Soha Ali Khan. It felt like a real group of friends, and that authenticity made the tragedy in the second half hit so much harder. The cast gave the movie its face, but the soul, that came from somewhere else. You cannot talk about the emotional impact of Rang De Basanti without mentioning the man who lit the revolution. A.R. Rahman didn't just make songs for this movie, he effectively wrote a second screenplay through music. It reportedly took him 3 years to compose the soundtrack, and you can hear the effort in every track. Coincidentally, he was also the music director for The Legend of Bhagat Singh, a movie whose final song still tugs at every heartstring. In contrast, the genius of the Rang De Basanti soundtrack is how it defies the genre. For a patriotic movie, you expect marching drums. Instead, we got Khalbali, which mixed Arabic textures with rock to capture the restless energy of youth. Then look at Luka Chupi. This song, sung by the legendary Lata Mangeshkar, plays while the characters are alive. It created a sense of dread and heartbreak before the violence even started. And finally, Rubaru. This is a song that plays at two moments in the movie. The one at the end, after they are all dead, personally moved me. Usually after a tragedy, movies play sad, melancholic music, but Rubaru is uplifting. It's energetic. It suggests that their bodies are gone but their spirits are free. This musical choice dictated how you felt as you left the theater. You didn't walk out depressed, you walked out inspired. The background music, especially the correlation between 1931 and 2006 and the use of traditional folk instruments to create tension and drama, gave Rang De Basanti a flavor rarely seen in Indian cinema.
I was thinking about this title song, and I said, Rang De Basanti. Basanti is a color. What if I write a recipe of how to make the color Basanti?
We did a workshop before the film started. We placed all the musical ideas, even before we worked on the lyrics.
And Rahman heard that, and then for the next 48 hours, he didn't leave the studio.
Moving on to the final chapter, what I like to call the RDB effect. With most movies, the feeling ends when the credits roll. With Rang De Basanti, the real story actually started after the release. We often say movies influence society, but rarely do we see proof of it. This film is the exception. When the movie was released in 2006, the Jessica Lal murder case was dominating the news. It was a case where a wealthy, politically connected man had shot a model in a bar and he had been acquitted due to lack of evidence. The country was angry but felt helpless. Then Rang De Basanti hit the theatres. The movie featured a scene in which the characters held a candlelight vigil at India Gate to protest corruption. Almost immediately, life imitated art. People in New Delhi, inspired by the movie, organized a massive candlelight march at India Gate in honor of Jessica Lal. A political party didn't organize it, citizens organized it. This public pressure actually forced the legal system to reopen the case, and eventually justice was served. The movie taught a generation how to protest peacefully. It made the candle a symbol of silent resistance in India, something we saw repeated in the anti-corruption movements of 2011 and the protests of 2012.
I seriously don't remember anyone using candlelight march as a tool to register protest before Rang De Basanti. And I have not seen any single protest without a candlelight march after Rang De Basanti.
So where does that leave us today? 20 years later, Rang De Basanti still holds up. It's too idealistic. Some might argue that the vigilante justice ending is dangerous in the real world, and those are fair critiques, but you cannot deny its heart. It told us that loving your country doesn't mean unquestionably accepting its flaws. It means fighting to fix them. Amir Khan's character DJ has a famous line that sums up the entire film.
जिंदगी जीने के दो ही तरीके होते हैं, एक जो हो रहा है होने दो, बर्दाश्त करते जाओ, या फिर जिम्मेदारी उठाओ उसे बदलने की.
2 decades later, that choice is still ours to make, and that is why Rang De Basanti remains timeless.
You're goddamn right.
If you enjoyed this deep dive and are interested in watching more, check out our latest video about Dhurandhar right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.